Okay, so these are the motor mounts I got from Metal Deck out of Michigan. Just got them in today. They're for the Chevy Tahoe, or pretty much any GM truck, 1500 series. They look pretty well made, obviously. Cut with a plasma cutter or laser cutter or something. The welding looks like it's well done. A little bit of splatter. And take them apart and paint them up. Get them installed here in the next couple days. That's them. Solid rather than hydraulic. Getting tired of replacing these damn things. Mounts for the one that connects up to the motor, so I took it off the old one. I used a 10-ton or 20-ton hydraulic press and a bar there. You have to figure that out, but basically you just beat that son of a bitch into place, and looks decent. It'll work. Okay, so after flattening the heat shield out and trying it a couple times, you're going to have to cut the bolt hose out here, and you're also going to have to shorten up the length on it. The part that heads towards the rear, this is for the driver's side. There's some coolant lines coming up through there. You're going to want to shorten that up. I added a couple rivets. You're going to want to come through the inside, put the head on the inside, otherwise that's going to bulge out and make it to where you can't get your mount up in there. But yeah, it's pretty extensive on a modification. It'll take you a little bit to get through it. Wasn't real concerned about the looks. It's not going to be seen, so there you go. Okay, so I'm better than halfway through with this project here, putting new motor mounts, solid motor mounts on both the left and the right. I figured I'd walk you guys through some of the issues I had. I just pulled the passenger side. This is the driver's side here, as you can see, like 2012 Tahoe, and there's the motor mount with the bolt that goes from the top to the bottom. These things are a real piece of cake to get in. Of course, it's a little bit of pain in the ass to line the two pieces up. I'm going to wait until I drop the engine down to put the 3 bolts in, which anybody who's watched a half dozen of these videos on YouTube knows exactly what you're up against as far as the 3 bolts on the bottom section here, and then the 4 that bolt up to the motor. I have a previous video where I modified the heat shield. I'll have to do the same thing on the passenger side. Some guys are talking about pulling the steering shaft out. I didn't have to do that. I was able to work it from the bottom. The motor mount that I had that I pulled out was so destroyed. And this is the driver's side here. It was completely gone. So there was nothing left of that. So, and that's common. There's a lot of videos on here about pulling the driver's side. The passenger side's the real bear. I just got this one out here. It's still in good shape. You're going to find that when you go to pull it, and I'll get under here in a second, you're going to have to pull the starter, all the sensors on the passenger side, all that's got to come out the dipstick. You can see the starter right there, I guess. And then when you pull the motor mount out, work it to the back, turn it around, then you have to pull the top, or the motor mount, or the plate that mounts up to the motor off of the heat shield, and you can pull it apart and get it out in pieces. You're not going to get it out in one piece unless you want to just keep disassembling your truck. That's up to you. I pulled everything out over here. So, airbox, radiator, overflow, and battery, as well as the battery holder and the rod that comes down. Just because I couldn't get an angle on 3 bolts down there. I could not get that thing lined up, no matter how many extensions I use. Let's see, you can see right there. So those are a real bitch, and I've got a number of extensions and wobbles and everything else. It just got to the point where, okay, I could get them out, but I'm not going to get them back in. So I just went ahead and disassembled everything. Here's the dipstick. You don't have to pull it all the way out, but it's going to have to come up past the exhaust manifold. Of course, your air box, and then the connection, or the part that fits on top of your mass airflow sensor and everything that connects up to your mass airflow sensor. I've got that blocked off. So all that's got to come off. It's the other thing you're going to have to do is when you jack your motor up, I have just a 1/2-inch piece of plywood. It didn't take much. That motor moves around pretty easily. Put maybe 30 pounds or 40 pounds up against it, and it'll shift from one side to the other. So just a little 1/2-inch piece of plywood. That's right there is where the air box mounts, and then the radiator overflow fits right there. So it wasn't a whole lot of pressure. I didn't feel like I was putting anything on that pulley system up there. So that's your pulley there. It's not a big issue. Just shift it over, because once you get the driver's side out, you can push it to the passenger side. The passenger side, you can push it to the driver's side. That's self-explanatory. Okay, and so I've seen a number of videos where the guys were jacking it up with the off the exhaust manifolds. They're primarily doing just the driver's side. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I know it's not a lot of weight, but I knew I was going to have to lift the whole motor, because I'm changing out both the driver's and passenger side. I'm putting in solid motor mounts, so it's a complete workover. And this is where I jacked it up. So below the harmonic balancer, or behind the harmonic balancer, and that's, the front cap on the motor block itself. So that's going to be pretty stout, but you're actually jacking up against the lip of the oil pan. So I'll put a piece of 1/2-inch plywood in there against the porta power, and you can see I had to raise it up probably 5 inches. So I'm on a pair of car ramps, so of course the suspension was holding some weight, so your mileage may vary on that. But the other thing I had to do, which is I think a little bit different than what I'm seeing everybody else do, is I pulled the steering component off. There's just 4 bolts, 1, 2, 21 millimeter over here, and then a couple of 18 millimeters here. So it was real simple, and that's so I could get the porta power up behind it. There's also right here that wire loom fits inside of a plastic bracket that has a 10 millimeter bolt holding the main piece of it together. It's kind of tricky to get off. There's a tab or something over on this side, so once you drop the driver's side, the passenger side will just kind of fall off. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun to put back together. Here you can see that let's see, is that better? Yeah, so there the starter's out. There's another holder, tab, whatever you want to call it, right here for these 2 lines. You can see the bolt right there. I dropped that. Then there's your starter, sensor, and transmission, something or other. All those got to come out. So once you do that, you rotate that mount to the back. And I suppose, I get a better look at it. That's your sway bar here. If you wanted to pull that, you could, but I just elected to disassemble it right here between the catalytic converter and the sway bar. So yeah, that's about it. It's not a whole lot to it. It's just a full day in the shop. You're not going to get it done in 4 hours. And if you are, you're Superman. But that's my 2 cents worth. Okay, underneath the Tahoe here, from the back facing the front, and this plastic clip here, which goes up in front of the oil pan. This is your steering mechanism here. This is a bitch to get out. So you got a little 10mm bolt over here that comes in from the driver's side over into the oil pan, okay? And you have these 3 clips here, here, if you can see it, and there, that hold this wire loom in place. And then this is the booger. This hangs to the right passenger side, if you will, of the harmonic balancer. To get that porta power in, as you saw, you've got to remove the pinion steering as well as that little clamp or whatever you want to call it, raceway. And that'll allow you to put your porta power on the actual engine block itself. You want to block it off the oil pan like I've seen, or off the manifolds. That's you. This is the way I did it. Coming around here, you can see that I went ahead and redid the loom. That's the starter back up in there. So you're going to need to have some 3/8 or 1/2 inch wire loom on you. I don't take the old loom off. I just add new loom to it, and then I wrap these in foil because they're so close to that heat from the exhaust manifold. The starter relay here was wrapped in foil anyway, so it couldn't hurt to put some additional foil on. I'll come back and add some more down here, tidy it up a little bit. You're going to have this 10mm bolt that attaches to this hanger for these cooler lines that come up to the back of the transmission. There's another 15mm here, and you can see back up in there, you're going to want to do the looming and whatever heat shield you want to put on there before you rehang the starter. Okay? You're going to need an 18mm to get to these 2 bolts that come in from the front. Oh, so much for that flashlight. Make sure that you have a magnetic tip or put something on there to keep that bolt from falling down into this structural piece here. You're going to have problems. That's a 21mm there, and it's got to be torqued down pretty heavy. So those are a few of the problems you're going to deal with on reassembly or disassembly of some of this. Okay, so we're on the passenger side here, and you're going to find that if you got to pull the battery holder, the reservoir, and your air box, then you might as well take the time. You're going to need to reloom this. The heat has destroyed that loom. Run it back up here to the firewall. I also took time to grind off all the rust that was here. I painted this with some tubby tile, just like a refrigerator paint. Goop up your bolts up in here, where your nuts go to hold your battery box, whatever you want to call it. Repainted all those, and then put a boatload of anti-seize up in there. You're also going to want to set aside a little bit of time you're going to find your battery box has got a lot of rust in it. So I took the time to hit the top and the bottom. That's an old airbag off of Kenworth or something to separate the battery from the actual holder itself. I've gone over on mine. I put in a 900 amp battery which involved a little modification on the actual holder. I beat this down and took that out of there, so my battery actually extends pretty much all the way to the back here. And then I don't use a tie down. I use a series of rubber gaskets, or whatever you want to call them, strips underneath this particular frame brace, which I'll show you when I get it put back together. But I just found that the regular 600 amp batteries were constantly crapping out on me, so I went overboard. But 900 amp battery doesn't cost you that much more than some of the other ones that are specifically made for this vehicle. This is a former PPV, police pursuit vehicle, so it's got a lot of extra stuff as far as the load. It's got all the sirens and stuff. This is a car that we use for escorts, for oversized loads, so it's still got all the police stuff in it, so I didn't think it would hurt to put a bigger battery in there. But while you're in there doing this, like I say, trying to get down the bolts on the top of that motor mount, you're going to need about a 30-inch extension for your 3/8 drive, and I'll get into some of the specialty tools at the end of this video. Okay, so this is the Tahoe when it's put back together, and because I showed that I'd modified that battery and put in a 900 amp, basically a truck battery, like a big truck, Kenworth, whatever battery, this is how that fits in there. So I've got a 3/4 inch spacer and a couple pieces of airbag here. The frame brace holds it down. And as you can see, you're not going to be getting to that ground or the negative wire anytime soon, but it's pretty well shielded. That's your positive. And like I said, this being a PPV, it's got a bunch of additional loading on the circuit. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so the thing about this solid motor mounts is I'm getting a little bit of chatter. Y'all can hear that? Which sounds really weird to me. I'm doing 34 right now. But you'll hear that. So if I go to manual, now I'm in 5th gear at 30, right at 35. And I keep it around, there's 3rd gear, 2000. It sounds fine, so I'm not sure whether that's because of the motor mounts, the vibration I'm picking up, or there's something going on with the torque converter.